All right, Pharshat. Vayakhel. So, in our parasha, Mr. Kabbalah is here. Yeah. In our parasha, we have again the tzivui, the commandment of Shmirat HaShabbat. Shmirat HaShabbat. So if we look at if we look carefully at the pasuk, we would see that beyond the commandment of keeping the Shabbat, there's also description of the Asiyat Melacha during the 6 days, doing the types of labor that we have during these days. And it says, Sheshet Yamim Ta'aseh Melacha, Uvayom HaShevi'i Yeh Lachem Kodesh, Shabbat, Shabbato LeHashem. Right? So, we need to understand why is this description of doing the 6 days on the during the week. And I mean, you could just say Shabbat, don't do any melacha. Why does it tell me 6 days ta'aseh melacha, but on Shabbat you're going to stop? I mean, right? Wouldn't it be enough just to say ubayom Shabbat kol melechet avodah lo ta'asu? That's it. מה אני צריך 6 ימים תעשה עבודה?
2 days off is not good.
Who said 2 days off? 1 day.
No, if we work 5 days, 2 days off.
No. That's not what it says. Sheshet yamim ta'aseh melacha, but it's really not needed because the whole thing, you could say, kol melechet avodah lo ta'asu. Another question is there a connection? If there is a connection between Mishkan, build the Mishkan, and Shabbat, because also in Parashat Ki Tisa that we just had last week, there's also the commandment over there where we're talking about the Mishkan. There's also the commandment of keeping the Shabbat. It says, Sheshet yamim ya'aseh melacha u'bayom ha'shevi'i Shabbat Shabbaton leHashem. Shabbat Kodesh leHashem. So therefore we need to ask why is the smichut of the psukim and the Mishkan to Shmirat Shabbat, and if there is a connection between these two mitzvot and Shmirat Shabbat. In other words, building the Mishkan and Shmirat Shabbat itself. Of course, also we know that all the melachot that we learn that we are not supposed to do on Shabbat, we learn from building the Mishkan, as the Gemara says in Masechet Shabbat, Daf. Exactly, Mem Tet Amud Bet. Avot melachot 40 chaser achat. Right? Keneged mi? Keneged avodat HaMishkan. Right? It tells us that straight, and therefore we need to understand why Dafka we learn Melechet Shabbat from the Mishkan. And again, what's the connection between building the Mishkan and Shabbat? If there is. And we could ask a little further also if each one of the melachot of building the Mishkan was done because of Tzivui Hashem, as it says many times in the parasha, Ka'asher Tziva Hashem, as Hashem commanded. And then there is of course the kedusha, and we need to understand why dafka those holy melachot that we do during the week or associated with the Mishkan, those melachot need to stop on Shabbat. Wouldn't it be more appropriate for us to be, dafka to do those melachot on Shabbat? The Mishkan was built, right? So everything in the Mishkan was kodesh, so you should do so on Shabbat. And maybe what we refer to as ovdin dechol, maasim, things that we do during the week, maybe we should stop doing them, but everything else we should be doing. It doesn't really make so much sense. So to try to answer those questions, there are some expressions that we need to understand that we could not really define them without defining their opposites. For example, what we refer to as day, you can't really refer to what the day is without having the night. That's why Vayekhel, Vayiboker, in order to define the day, we have to have first of all, we have to have the expression night. And the same thing also, melacha. You can't define melacha if you don't have the concept of shvita, of not doing the melacha. Or to our case, Shabbat, which comes from shvita. Shvita means to, in modern Hebrew, will be to strike, but to like a strike, we'll be having a walkout. However, not a strike, strike like not working. But that comes from shvita, not to do anything. Lashevet, to sit down, not to do anything. Shevet, and so on and so forth. So doing the Mishkan really engulfs itself many types of melachot, and Chachamim learn from taking apart the concept of melacha from Lametet melachot, avot melachot in the Mishkan, that the melachot was something that had to do with avodah, with some kind of work, and in the Tanakh, in our sources, it's always some kind of a way to get something. It's just the path, the action that we do in order to get to something. And for our case, of course, is building the Mishkan in the center of the Jewish camp. So they need to do those melachot in order to get to the goal. The goal was building the Mishkan. So when we look at the concept of what is melacha, we could learn that the melacha itself is also a certain purpose, and a person can achieve his true meaning or purpose of himself by doing this melacha, and not by sitting down and doing nothing. So we see a certain correlation between men. Humans do work, they do labor, animals don't. I don't see a horse doing a melacha. He's running out in the plains over there, not doing it. What are they doing? Right? So, and you see that the more intelligent the creature, the more he would use types of labor or kind of instruments to facilitate his needs or its needs in that matter. We should know, and I should mention, that there is a concept that holds that the actual fact that we do avodah gashmit, physical work, that is wrong by itself. That is wrong by itself. Or should not be done to begin with. Therefore, what we call a isuk chomrei, any materialistic handling that we do, is really bedieved, is not really to begin with. To begin with, we should deal with spirituality, with ruchniut, becoming more spiritual, and so on and so forth. So according to this assumption, a person should try to run away from work and to try to be shovet, sit down on his, whatever he's sitting down in, and not do anything all week long, right? Just like meditate and stuff like that. However, we could learn from that something completely different. The Torah tells us, listen, buddy, this is not what we expect of you. You can't sit all day long and do nothing, just like meditate and do yoga all day long. Sorry, Mr. Yogi over there, but that's not what you came here to this world. This is the wrong thing to do. And the Torah tells us that we have to work. In other words, whatever work there would be. It says, "Sheshet yamim ta'avod ve'asita kol melachtecha." And you should do all your melacha. 6 days you have to do so. And because of that, and only because you work 6 days, ve'yom hashevei, and the 7th day, Shabbat le'Hashem Elokecha, lo ta'aseh kol melacha. You need to work 6 days. And you see the opposing, as we said, night and day, right? And so on and so forth. Also, the only reason why we do Shabbat, or we can look at this both ways, is because we work 6 days. 6 days you're going to do whatever you want. And on the seventh you're not going to do anything for Hashem. It's just the complete opposite. So without the person working 6 days, or laboring in something, I feel a little uncomfortable using the word work. We say laboring on something, being occupied with something, not with just sitting down idle. Only because you did that for 6 days, therefore Shabbat gets a meaning. A person needs to understand that. Now, I'm warning you. Do not think that sitting down in kollel means doing nothing. That's probably the most difficult thing you can do. So don't fool yourself. And if you're going to tell me, this guy sitting down in kollel doing absolutely nothing, I'm going to be the first one in line to punch you, because that's the wrong thing to do. It's a very difficult thing to do. And we'll get to this hopefully maybe later. So on the obligation to work, it says in Eov, Adam la'amal yulad. A person was created to work. Of course, what kind of work? That's already up to you. Adam la'amal yulad. Which amal you're going to do, that's up to you. A person can push a car to collect bottles, or it could be a CEO, or it could be a rabbi. Aval la'amal yulad. You have a purpose, and you need to work. You need to do something. Now, and the Gemara says in Masechet Brachot, for those of you who learn Brachot, in Daf Chet Amud Aleph, Gadol hanehene miyegeo yoter miyireh shamayim. It's great that you work hard for your money. You work hard for your money, right? Poor girl, she died, right? Donna Summer. She went, Allah yarahma, yallah. But when you work hard for your money, that's something that and you enjoy it. That's a tremendous thing. You feel satisfied. You feel complete. Now I'm going to tell you something. My father, Allah Shalom, used to tell me, he says, you're better off with the penny that you earned than $100 that somebody, or it's 100 shekels that somebody gave you. And don't get used to handouts. Work for your money. You're much better off. Never look of how much money you made. Look at the fact that you were able to make it. Stay away from handouts. That's why it's very hard for me to do fundraising. I am horrible at fundraising. I guess it's some kind of scratch in my head, But that's what it is. Now, the Rambam, in Halachot Gzela ve'Aveda, in Perek Vav, Halacha Yud Aleph, is posek, like the opinion in the Gemara, שהמשחק בקובייה פסול לעדות. A person who plays dice. For that matter, could be anybody who plays the slots or anything, roulette or something like משחק בקובייה, you're playing dice, פסול לעדות. Is פסול לעדות, he's not able to become an ed and anything. Right? Why? מפני שאינו עוסק ביישובו של עולם. He does not partake in making this world a better place. He's just playing dice all day long. And in other words, we should also pay attention to what the Rambam is adding, and I'm quoting, המשחק בקובייה, that's his own words. המשחק בקובייה, אין בו איסור גזל. It's not like playing poker or something. I'm throwing the dice. Of course, if the dice is kosher, right? אבל יש בו עוסק בדברים בטלים. You're doing absolutely nothing. שאין ראוי לאדם שיעסוק כל ימיו אלא בדברי חוכמה וביישובו של עולם. It is only appropriate for humans to acquire knowledge, to become wise, or to do things to fix up, to make this world a better place. Even if that means going to your garden and working out and pulling some weeds, that's also Yeshiva shel Olam. But sitting down and watching Family Guy on YouTube, that's bad. You can go to YouTube and watch Visos, that's much better. Hi guys, I'm Visos here. Hi. Like this, right? You're watching Family Guy, you're wasting your time. Or whatever people are watching nowadays. You're watching, what do you call those video songs?
Music videos?
Music videos. Waste your time. You can play music while you're painting your house or you're doing something, fixing something. But just to sit down and to watch, I don't know, some singer singing like a Tarzan, what? How did you make this world better? How did you become better? Nothing. It only destroy you morally and all the others around you as well. Do something productive with your life. You don't have so much time to waste on shtriot, on nonsense. If you're doing something, at least learn. But just to sit down and chill out, waste of time. Waste of time. The whole concept of chilling out is a concept for losers to just continue doing what they're doing, which is absolutely nothing, to become bigger losers. You want to chill out? Go into a refrigerator. Go become a butcher. You're very chilled out, working all day long, like freezing cold. Okay? You have to have this in mind. Now, therefore we saw that there is a tremendous value and importance in avodah and asiyat melacha, and there is also tremendous importance to be shovet, to stop doing the melacha, and maybe we could try to understand exactly what's the correlation between melacha, doing the work, and the value of not doing melacha. So the tafkid of the Shabbat, the job of Shabbat, is to elevate leromem ha'asiyah ha'chumrit, to elevate what you did materialistically all week long, and to elevate it up, and to suspend it, and make sure to realize it, that it was only done, as we spoke about it today, only done because of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will and abilities that He has given you. Only because He gave it to you. You are able to do what you're able to do only because God has allowed you to do it. And as we said today, there's no room for arrogance or ga'ava, because you by yourself cannot generate anything else unless God says, okay, you can do it. Who thinks he's a fast runner here? Yeah, you think with your shape, I see more like a fast roller. You look like a donut. Where's the jelly, honey? You look a Pirelli tire lately. Tell you want to put you on a diet. You're a fast runner. Okay, let's say you can run fast, right? Oh my God. Run fast for what? With your wife chasing you with the broom? So let me ask you this. You think you can go to the Olympics? No. Of course not. Even if you tried. Even if you quit anything that you do now and just practice, you can. Why? Because God has not given you the talent to become in the Olympics. However, some guy, Usain Bolt, that runs in the Olympics like he was like somebody stuffed a habanero somewhere. He's running like a lunatic. Cannot do a fraction of what you do in terms of he cannot close a deal like you do, or he cannot learn Gemara as much as you do. Why? Because God has not given him the credit. So therefore you need to understand that every hatzlacha, any success that you had on your talent, which we all have different talents, it's only because God has allowed you to have it. He gave you this ability. So the Shabbat Kodesh depends on your realization. So how do you do that? I worked and I'm stopping because that's what Hashem wants to do. My hatzlacha was only because God let me do it. So the Shvita for Melacha, not doing those Melachot that we are doing on Shabbat, elevates them. Mi'achomer lakodesh, sanctifies them and brings them up. And the way he does it, by placing the name God on top of all this. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me all these abilities, so therefore I'm elevating it by putting the name of God inside of it. By realizing all these things was godly. So next week that I'm going to do, maybe I'll change my perspective a little bit about the way I'm doing. I'll appreciate more, I'll pay more attention, because as should I say, Rush Limbaugh said, talent and alone from God. It's something to learn. It's something to learn. You could be the best, but don't forget, it's only because God is giving it to you. You could be the best astrophysics in the world, but for whatever reason, you can't paint. So whatever talents you have, utilize them and elevate them. And by realizing that God is giving it to you, you're elevating this and you're sanctifying them to a different level. So on Shabbat we make the Shvita as a zecher, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Maaseh Bereshit, that he stopped creating the world on the seventh day. As it says in Bereshit, Vayishvot bayom hashevi mikol melachto asher asa. Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, stopped it, not because he was tired, and not because he needed to go on vacation or anything like that, but simply because of one reason: to elevate creation to the level of Kodesh. By creating so-called a vacuum of action, everything that was done throughout the week of creation was elevated now and became eligible to turn it into a Hefza de Kedusha. All the materials, all the actions, everything, he was able, by how? By stopping doing this. and we learn the melachot of Shabbat, the melachot asurot of Shabbat that are taken from the Mishkan to teach us that melacha, doing labor, could in potential become something positive and something holy. That's why it's very, very important that when you guys do business, keep the laws of the Torah. Because you have a potential to take something and sanctify it, or chash v'shalom, take it and bring it down to the places of impurity. One needs to be very, very careful. A lot of attention has to go on how you do business, on how you conduct yourself throughout this, because then you're going to find yourself very difficult to elevate yourself on Shabbat spiritually. And the problem is not on Shabbat. The problem is because you haven't stopped, you haven't created this vacuum that will bring everything into the Kedusha, suck everything up and bring it to the Kedusha, elevate it out. We need to remember and we need to understand those things. So, for example, when it says Melechet Tzaddik Katavar Yifrach, good to see you. בוא פה, יושב פה, בוא, מכאן, תעשה סיבוב. זה שלום, שאמר לכם, צדיק בן צדיק, בוא, יאללה. So we said, because we said, סוף מעשה, במחשבה תחילה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. What does it mean? It says on the melachot that Bezalel did in building the Mishkan, לעשות כל מלאכת מחשבת. מלאכת מחשבת. In other words, you need to think about before you do something. Shabbat is also called Melechet Machshevet. Why? Why Shabbat is called Melechet Machshevet? Because you need to have a thought. You need to put thinking into your action when you get ready, you get married for Shabbat. Get ready for Shabbat, right? In other words, if you let's say want to serve something on Shabbat that has some issues of muktzah, you're going to make sure to remove it before Shabbat not to run into problems. You're going to check the fire and so on and so forth. So you need to pay attention to the machshava. Therefore, you could see from this something very important. In order to sanctify something, you need to be very aware of what you're doing and therefore elevate that from a regular action. How do you make your regular action into something holy? Pay attention to what you're doing. When we go in like a behemah, we don't think about what we're doing, we cannot elevate it. The machshava is what will make something holy or not. As the same thing is, I'm going to write something, I'm going to say, Hareini kotev l'shem kedushat, so on and so forth. And by now it becomes kadosh because my machshava is on that. So I need to think about what I'm doing. Shabbat is Melechet Machshevet. Everything you do on Shabbat, you need to make sure. And I'm going to tell you this. Let's talk about food a little bit. By the way, where's food? Where's bourbon? Where's everything? I'm going to tell you the following. Yeah, Yonatan said he's going to have food today. Text him, ask him. So, you see, they didn't come for me. They came for the Chinese food. So, if we're going to talk about food, for example, if you're going to go from gefilte fish to the chulent and everything else in between, even the cooking is done b'machshava leShabbat. So there won't be any bones, so there won't be any issues. That's why the food of Shabbat, that's why you don't count calories on Shabbat. Everything is holy, becomes holy by your machshava, by your attention that you are paying. So you need to prepare yourself and you prepare your surrounding to be able to receive the ruchniyut, the hashpa'ah, the shefa, the abundance, the kedusha of Shabbat. You have to prepare yourself. You have to make all those things appropriate to what we call in Kabbalah. Making the kelim, making the vessels. You need to clean them up, and that's why we clean the house. That's what we that's why it's a chiyuv even to take a shower on Shabbos. You can't go on Shabbat without taking a shower. There's a reason for that. The Ben Ish Chai says, if a person does not have water, clean yourself, prepare yourself. That preparation, that attention, that preparation would allow to draw the Kedusha in, and by doing so, elevating everything that you do, not only on Shabbat, but everything that you did throughout the week, because everything is geared towards Shabbat. That's why the hashpa'ah of Shabbat comes from Wednesday on and until Tuesday. Shabbat is the middle of the week. Yes, in the counting of the week, Shabbat is at the end. But that is true for the beginning of the first week of creation. There was the first day, the second day, and that came Shabbat. From that point on, Shabbat started to become, instead of being the end of the week, Shabbat is the center of the week. Because the hashpa'ah of Shabbat goes from this side and to this side. So Shabbat is the center. That's the balance point of your whole entire week. How your week is going to look and how in the future. And how your week would end up to be when you do the final, okay, 1 week is over. Determine on your appropriation of how you're going to make things on Shabbat. Tzarich machshava, melechet machshevet. And melacha that you need to think. Just like in the Mishkan. We know the Betzalel was Choshev Machashavot. Yes, there are many Perushim of what does it mean Choshev Machashavot, but everything was generated by his thoughts, his ability to think, to do things appropriately. He didn't just make things because, he took some motifs from, Navajos and then he combined it with some motifs from Cyprus. No, everything was done for a specific reason. And he came out the way it was because he made himself into the appropriate vessel. Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, filled them up with chokhmah in order to be able to do exactly what needed to be done. Now, you need to understand that as well. In terms of what do you do during the week and how you get ready for Shabbat. And that's why the Shulchan Aruch says, even if a person has many slaves and servants and, chodemas and all kind of people that clean up for him, right? He himself needs to get off his, whatever he gets off, and do something for Shabbat. You need to do something for Shabbat. You can't come in like this, okay, honey, let's gefilte fish, No, you gotta do something. Whether it's cleaning or preparing or doing something. There is a big remez about this. Tasting. Yes, if you're cooking, yes, you can taste. If not, you get a mop and clean up. Anyway. So and that's Chazal tells us in Masechet Avodah Zarah. It says Mi shetarach be'erev Shabbat. Whoever worked hard on erev Shabbat, yochal b'Shabbat. Mi shelo tarach be'erev Shabbat, me'echad yochal b'Shabbat. If you didn't work hard or prepare yourself in erev Shabbat, how are you going to eat on Shabbat? For what? You're going to eat leftovers? No, you have to be toreach, not la la'amod, litroach, to work hard. You need to come to Shabbat knowing that you work hard. You participated in getting ready for Shabbat. So that preparation for Shabbat, when should it start? When should it start, this preparation for Shabbat? Should start, of course, Lefachot. Sunday. Who said Sunday? Tzaddik. He said Sunday. That's right. That's the answer. I thought it was Friday, but he's absolutely correct. The preparation of Shabbat to Shabbat starts from Yom Rishon, from Sunday. Hey, we're going to be a little late today, but if you don't mind. So, therefore, that's why, by the way, we call the days, as we said before, when we write it, we don't call it Yom Rishon, we call it Echad B'Shabbat. Ayom, Be'echad B'Shabbat, Be'yom She'anam, Be'makom She'anam Udim. Every time you write Echad B'Shabbat, Shnayim B'Shabbat. Every time you mention the Shabbat in the counting of the days, to make sure that to respond, that the days correspond according to where they are B'Shabbat. Echad B'Shabbat, Shnayim B'Shabbat, and so on and so forth. Shenim B'Shabbat, and so on. In other words, we have to have awareness throughout the week and machshava towards Shabbat itself in everything that you do. As in Chassidut, they have a big klal. They say anywhere a person b'kol makom she'adam mechashev sham hu. Whatever it is that you're thinking, that's where you are. That's where you are. So therefore, you could be in San Francisco by the pier, and you're thinking of the Kotel. You are spiritually in the Kotel, or you could be in the Kotel and think about San Francisco. You're in San Francisco because you're not paying attention to where you are. That's what Rabbi Yehuda Halevi says, Anochi b'ma'arav, libi b'ma'arav, no, libi b'mizrach, v'anochi b'sof ma'arav. My heart is really in the east, but I am at the end of the west, because he was in Portugal, Spain over there. Libi b'mizrach, v'anochi b'sof ma'arav. You go after your heart. It's better off, by the way, you should know, talking about now, hearts and Israel and so on and so forth, better off you'll be in America, longing to go to Eretz Israel, longing to go to Yerushalayim, than to be in Yerushalayim and longing to be in the United States. They're better off. Don't forget that. When we speak about Eretz Israel, we should not say, oh, this place just like Israel. There's no such thing just like Israel. You should be very careful when you say that. Eretz Israel is Eretz Israel. It is. And nothing is like it. Maybe in your eyes, but not what you see is not what it really is. And you should tell this to Mr. Jared Kushner. Good thing he doesn't come here. I ever talk with the guy.
Maybe he's just making a show.
Now, yes. So now we know. We know that there are three things that really are connected one to another. Kedusha Brichu, right? Oraita, Israel. Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Torah, and Am Yisrael. And we know that there are 5 different levels of the neshama, but we're going to leave 2. We're going to deal with the 3. Here, that's for you, Mr. Kabbalah over there. So, and we're going to talk on the lowest one, which is the nefesh, ruach, and neshama. So the rabbi from Ruzin says that the neshama is b'bchinat HaKadosh Baruch Hu, corresponds with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Because the neshama is chelek Eloah mima'al. It's apart from HaKadosh Baruch Hu that comes from above, and then it goes back. HaNefesh is b'bchinat Adam HaYisraeli. It's the behemoth, it's the person, it's the structure, that what we have our body. And the ruach is the Torah. The ruach is the Torah. And the ruach of the Torah is what connects the nefesh with the neshama, between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Am Yisrael. Rabotai, you could be Jewish. However, if you don't learn or keep Torah, you don't have a kesher with God, regardless of what you think you do. I really love it when people say to me, actually I don't love it, but you know what I'm saying. Oh, don't worry about it, I don't need to keep Shabbat. Me and God, we have a relationship. That's according to you, but not according to Him. There has to have some connection between the two. Some pipe that would connect that abundant source to the vessel down here. That's called the Torah. There's no Torah, disconnect. Don't let anybody fool you. There's no Torah, there's disconnect. That's why you have to learn. Now, however, again, you have many people. Some even people that keep come to put filling on, but they don't learn. You need to learn. That's why Chachamim put us a little bit of Torah here and there, even in davening. But how many people actually do it? You come to Babei Madlikim, everybody skips that. They don't need to do it. It's time for me to talk to the guy. Let me check my WhatsApp. Let me check this. Let me check that. That doesn't work like that. You need to sit down and learn. You need to be kovea itim la Torah. You have to understand that your existence, in terms of your connection to God, depends on the Torah. The more you learn, the bigger the pipe. The bigger the pipe, the more the shefa. Shefa, we're not always talking about money. We're talking about other things that are much greater and important than money. So, it will be like, for example, like a table that has 2 legs. A table that has 2 legs is not going to happen. You have to have at least a 3rd leg. At least a link that would connect both of them together. And on Shabbat, that's the Hidgaluta Shlema Shel HaNeshama. On Shabbat, the neshama completely reveals itself, and that's what we call neshama yetera. During the week, we only have a small portion of the neshama, and the Shabbat we have the tosefet. That's the ikar of the neshama. That's the whole thing reveals and comes up closer. However, you could enjoy your neshama also during the chol. How? If you connect that to the neshama that you get on Shabbat. That's why it's important, Rabotai, to have Melave Malka. That's why it's important when Shabbat comes out, when you do Havdalah, not to run away to your business right away. Oh, let's go to the restaurant, let's go out, let's go party, let's go there. No, Rabotai, no. Have this lingering taste in your mouth a little longer. I'll give you an example. My father, Alav Shalom, told me that you go to Turkey, if you order coffee, they'll give you always coffee and water. And you're supposed to drink the water before you drink the coffee to really enjoy the pellet. However, if you drink the coffee, you drink the water, you're in trouble. Because it's like an insult that the coffee was bad, you want to wash it down. You're supposed to have a little bit of the flavor of the coffee in your mouth afterwards. Lehavdil, it's the same thing that we do in Shabbat. We just tasted Shabbat, so wonderful. Right away, yalla, tavi, let me wash this thing, I can't take it. Shabbat is not garlic breath. Shabbat is pleasure. It's something that you should feel it's coming out of your neshama, not a day that it's over. That a piece of you is coming out, and that longing to the peace, to that feeling that was gone. Because don't tell me, and if you go, you could tell me, but I'm going to tell you back. If you're going to tell me that come Motzei Shabbat, you feel nothing, I'm going to tell you, you haven't connected to yourself spiritually. You should feel like something is missing. You just lost, or somebody that you love just went away. You already missed them. They're just on the train. You already missed them. And you should know the more you love a person, they don't have to leave. They could just get the bag ready. You already missed them. They're right next to you. The same thing on Shabbat. There is no big mitzvah to rush after Shabbat out. That's what Chazal says. You have to make Melave Malka, light a little candle, have a little wine, make sure you don't drive afterwards, stay home, relax. It would help you, it would change your whole attitude towards the week altogether. Completely. And this is how you connect this to Shabbat. So the awareness has to be preparing for Shabbat, to get the clear ready, and then to try to linger it as much as you can afterwards. It will be like some kind of a dish that it's so delicious that you're going like this with your finger trying to get just the remnants of the flavor. That's how you have to have towards Shabbat. Now, our whole entire, everything that we do in Avodah Ruchanit, whatever its spirituality is, as we said before, preparing the kli, or the vessels for the neshama, to the klal, to the neshama klalit of Am Yisrael. Why? In order for us to merit to have this neshama of Am Yisrael shining upon us. We're talking about Vayakhel, right? So that is very important. In B'riyat HaMishkan, in the Truman HaMishkan, we reveal all these neshamot that each one brought mitrumato. When you give a truma, it's from your nefesh, from your soul. So all that came together in forming the Mishkan, and that's the symbolism that the Mishkan came and HaKadosh Baruch Hu dwell in it, because each one of us brought a part of his neshama. When I give you something that is mine, I'm giving you a part of my neshama, my nitzots that is in this object, I give it to him. That's why matanot ish lereu on Purim, because Haman told us, Yeshno am echad mefuzar, spread and conflicts and so on and so forth, bechol ha'amim, we give gifts one to another to try to overcome what this Amaleki, Haman HaRasha, tried to do to us. By me giving you a piece of my neshama, and you giving me, and we all giving each other. Of course, does that not mean that you are recycling mishloach manot, right? Yeah, no, there's no such thing. Whatever somebody gives you, you have to understand that he's giving you. You should learn to give from your heart. And by the way, the mishloach manot should not be bombastic and wiring and so on and so forth. It has to be from your heart. You have to learn to do things from the heart, not from the outside. You're much better off going to a wedding that is a spiritual wedding, with true simcha, with a quarter of chicken on the table and some borekas from 3 years ago, but there's true simcha, that to have a 3 Michelin star, feast over there with no kedusha and no simcha whatsoever. You have to change the way you look at things. Completely. That's why it's very important to give things to people. It's not the size of it, it's what's the intent that was behind it. Because you have to understand, I'm giving you a piece of me. So that's why Kadosh Baruch Hu loved it so much. And the Mishkan, the revelation of all what we call the Neshama Kolelet, that inclusive soul of Am Yisrael as one body, came to manifest itself in the Mishkan, and when everybody brought this whole chelek. Now Am Yisrael were very high Neshamot, but when they came out of Mitzrayim, they were wrapped with many klipot, many klipot. There was so much that you couldn't tell between the Egyptians and the Jews anymore. As the Gemara says, Elu of the Avodah Zarah, Elu of the Avodah Zarah. They do Avodah Zarah, they do Avodah Zarah. You couldn't tell one another. When they came out of Mitzrayim, the Klipah started to break, and the Neshamot started to really reveal themselves. However, there was lights with no vessels. There were lights with no vessels. They did not have the appropriate vessels to hold such lights. That's why the Mekubalim says that immediately after they received the Torah, they made the Egel. Why? Because the Erev Rav said to them, hey guys, you don't have the Kelim, you don't have the appropriate vessels to receive it. Let me make you a vessel. Bo na'aseh lachem kelim. So, from a certain point of view, maybe you could say, there is sense in making the Egel, however, that's the wrong Kli. The Kadosh Baruch Hu created this world to make this world as a vehicle to benefit its creations, to give us great abundance, which is mainly a shefa ruchani. And there is a klal that says, Hashefa shofea kishehu mashpia. The abundance comes down when you are doing the hashpa, when you are influencing, when you are sharing yourself. The shefa ne'etzar, the abundance stops when a person holds him up and becomes cheap and he holds it to himself. Now you might understand why the Shulchan Aruch says everybody has to give tzedakah. Even a person who parnes min tzedakah has to give tzedakah. You have to teach from yourself to give, because your shefa, don't push the table, your shefa is really dependent on the ability that you have to give to everybody else. So when you hold from giving to others, you're affecting others as well, because you're creating a how do you call this? A blockage, an aneurysm. You are a spiritual aneurysm. Everybody has to give. I didn't say what. You can give money, you can give effort, you can give so many different things, but you have to give. If not, I kind of like this. You are a spiritual aneurysm, and that causes death. You have to learn to give. You have to see, how can I help? How could I contribute? You should never say, why is it always me? You should say, oh my goodness, I'm so lucky. Can I do more? Let me share with you. I forgot who was it. Those two Rabbanim. I told you the story a million times. They were talking, it was a cold night. I really forgot who it was. All of a sudden they hear a knock on the door. It's a freezing cold night somewhere in Poland, in the prairies of Poland. Comes this old guy, it's like old with ripped, so this guy goes and says, sit down, please sit down. He takes, like a bucket with hot water, puts his feet in, starts rubbing his foot. And so the other rabbi says to him, what are you doing? He says, oh, I'm sorry. Come, please, he has another leg, let's do a mitzvah. It's a different way of us looking at of what a mitzvah is and what an opportunity is. There's a Jew, he's a cold, I'm going to make him feel warm. You know what, let's share together. Not only for me. He doesn't see it, I'm a rabbi going to wash some old guy's feet. You got to look at things different. So the shefa, we always refer to as becoming a millionaire or multi-millionaire or a billionaire and so on and so forth. However, that ends because there's no pleasure in it. There's no shefa in that. Shefa, abundance, it's not when I have a lot of gold and diamonds and dinero and stuff like that. The Gemara calls something like this, refers to this scenario as a mouse who's sitting on a pile of gold. Or is resting on a pile of dinarim, on a pile of gold. Why? Because for the mouse, it's the same thing. Whether he's laying on gold or he's laying on rocks, it's the same thing. Doesn't make any difference to him. There are many people that have everything, and they could have everything, but they don't enjoy anything, and nobody enjoyed them as well. This is all just a matter of an imagination. Those people are basically bankrupt. What is that you have all this good in the world if nobody enjoys it, including yourself? Everything becomes meaningless. How much? Okay, let's say you bought yourself a whole cow from Kobe steaks. Okay, how much can you eat? After a while, it's terrible. And regardless of what fancy restaurant you're going to go to, you remember one thing: you're always going to want to go to mommy's food. It doesn't make a difference where you ate fancy in the world and so on. You always want the little things that mommy ate, or some kind of a Hamish food. Why is that? Because in that food that mommy made you, there is some ingredient that it doesn't exist anywhere else. It's giving. Mommy makes you the food because she makes it from herself. That you cannot replace by any chef in the world. Maybe only Jiro in Tokyo, but about it, that's it. How many people can reach this level of mastery as this guy? Yeah, but the guy, he makes his stuff. Anyway, but you understand? So the chase that we have all the time to have another dollar or to have another 1,000 is really pathetic. We should look for meaning in what we have. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to have a lot of pleasure, to enjoy, but therefore we need to have the will to receive the shefa, and that is the kli. Haratzon lekabel et shefa, that need to receive the I want to enjoy the goodness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that becomes the kli. A person enjoys from food when he has a te'avon, when he has an appetite. Right? He can enjoy his food, but when he doesn't have the appetite, he doesn't want to eat it. You could give him the best thing in the world, he just doesn't want to eat it. That's why a person that eats when he's full, it's called achila gasa. That's like a behema. You cannot do mitzvat achila, any achila that is associated with a mitzvah when you are full up to here. There's no mitzvah in that. It's like machal behema. Because when you want to eat the matzah, when you're eating the matzah, you need to want to eat it. I can't wait to have the taste of the matzah. And that's why I told you 1,000,000 times, that's why I would not eat a piece of roasted lamb, even in Kislev, with the matzah and maror and charuzet inside. Why? Because I want to have I want to deflower my taste bud with the first time I'm going to do Korban Pesach. I want to be the first time. I want to have this te'avon, this desire to eat it. Because then I'm going to tell you, guess what? I ate this before. It was not such a big deal, Not to eat matzah with the it's like crackers with lamb. Who eats crackers with lamb? No big deal. I want to have it. Shawarma? Nah, shawarma is not.
Matzah was soft. So.
No. I want to have the taste of this in my mouth. Shawarma is not the same. Shawarma is like
lamb.
Maybe if you said doner, like the Turkish, but shawarma is all tavlinim. They put cumin and everything. You could take my shoe and put cumin on it. It will taste good also. Stay away from shawarma. Shawarma is a calorie bomb. Every shawarma has like 2,500 calories. Stay away from it. Now, we have to understand that the kli of receiving, the vehicle of receiving, the receptacle of receiving, that's, as we say, haratzon lekabel, the willingness to receive. That's why you cannot learn unless you want to learn. I can force you, put a gun to your head to sit down and learn the whole entire Shas. You could learn the whole entire Shas, but you would never learn it. You would never receive it because you don't want to do it. If you want to do it, it doesn't make a difference if you learned anything or never learned anything before. You could be completely blank about learning Gemara. You want to learn, you would learn. Because that is the kli, the receptacle of receiving. You can't receive the knowledge unless you want to have it. Now, if you don't want to have it, I'm going to ask you, what in the world is wrong with you? There's nothing like it. So, wow, this is really wrong. This is very wrong. Now, okay, I'll skip some. I'll skip some. So the Erev Rav told them, you have lights with no vessels, you came on Mitzrayim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you a great light and you're not ready for it. You didn't have any preparation, therefore when you say, when you hear Ani Hashem Elokecha in Har Sinai, your neshama goes out, you're not ready for it. You don't have the ability to hold the neshama. So we know that the kilim is a gashmiyut. And what could be more gashmi, right, than the ego? It's gold. It's golden ego, the golden calf that we're all running after. Avodah Zarah is also amal. Also it calls amal. You're going to have great urges and great egoism and selfishness. If you're going to overcome this, you're going to have kli for Avodat Hashem, to receive Hashem. And that was the mistake of Erev Rav and those who went after them. To think that they could make kelim, that they could create a messenger, or to create a temporary transformation or transformer for the Shefa. You can't do that. Once Am Yisrael says Naaseh v'nishma, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says what? Vayikhu li truma. Take the truma. Li truma. Akol li. Everything is for me. Only then you could, when you do so, you're going to receive the kilim. In this parashiyot, that might seem a little bit boring and like repetitive, you could actually, if you learn it appropriately, you pay attention to it, you could really understand how to receive the proper receptacles to become more spiritual, how to do Avodat Hashem. And that is what, when you do so, that's the Knisat Neshamot of Klal Yisrael, Leashkin kol neshama bimkoma. And excuse me, when you realize this, you understand that each one of us is very important here, because it says ve'asu li mikdash ve'shachanti betocham. In each and every one of Am Yisrael, each and every one of us should make himself appropriate to receive the Shekhinah or the Neshama inside of us. Each and every one of us should look at himself and appropriate himself as a Kohen Gadol in Erev Yom Kippurim, as we're learning in the morning, and we learn what it needs to be done in order to be appropriate to enter Kodesh HaKodashim. Each and every one of us, you got to be very, very careful. Very careful. And when you make yourself appropriate, you're bringing yourself as a kli, la mishkan, and then we all becomes a holy vessel, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes into each and every one of us. Shachati betocham. Therefore, each and every one of us should look and examine what his contribution, what's his truma, what does he do for Klal Yisrael? What is that you contribute for Klal Yisrael? How do you connect your part to the Klal, to the people? What are you doing for your people? Or are you only here for yourself? How do you make your kli appropriate for the neshama to dwell inside of you? Of course, don't forget that the gematria of Vayakhel, 151, is equal to the gematria of mikveh. Your tahara, your kedusha, depends on your ability to become a part of the klal, not individual, a part of the klal. And this is when it says Vaikhuli Truma, your contribution you have to do, that you have to give, it has to be for Hashem. You're not doing it for yourself. You leave yourself out of this. So if we will be able to summarize this, if we will be able to operate in Olam HaKodesh, in the holy world, tell him that we finished. Tell the guy we finished. Go tell him. Go out. If we tell him that, if we know how to operate in Olam HaChomrin, the physical world, through a complete and continuous connection to the Kodesh, and we recognize that all our powers, or our actions, or our abilities comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, therefore all our actions would be as building the Mishkan. We all become a holy vessel. So examine yourself and ask yourself, what am I doing to contribute? What is my contribution? Each one to his abilities. Shabbat Shalom.
ברוך הוא.